What is going on, guys? This is Daniel, and going into this series, one of the most interesting things to me was how the Jazz offense would fare against the Rockets defense. The Rockets have an excellent defense, and they switch 1 through 5, which gives most teams trouble. Meanwhile, the Jazz are coached by Quin Snyder, who is smart and creative with his X's and O's on offense. So this is an interesting dynamic, and in Game 1, the Rockets dominated the Jazz, and on offense, the Jazz scored 1.01 points per possession, which is well below average. So it's safe to say in Game 1, the Rockets defense won this battle. So in this video, I'm going to show some of the reasons the Rockets had success with their switching, and also how Utah tried to counter it. Let's get to it. Let's start with the basis of why their switching is effective, which is pretty clear, and it's because they don't allow an advantage. Having Capella, who's a 5, here who can switch on to Ingles no problem, is very valuable. And on this play, you see the Jazz don't really get any penetration, and Ingles is forced into a tough shot at the end of the shot clock. This time in the pick and roll, Capella switches on to Exum, and he steals it from him. The Jazz have a very motion-based offense with many actions predicated on screens, so being able to take away here a double ball screen for Ingles is so incredibly important, and Ingles ends up driving in a one-on-one situation. The Jazz did have some success running out in transition, but to beat the Rockets, especially when their transition defense tightens up if the games are closer, they're going to have to score in the half court. The Jazz looked to attack the switching by slipping a lot of ball screens, and this was clearly one of the main coaching points. So Mitchell has the ball, and you see Ingles comes up to set a ball screen, but what he'll do is he'll slip the screen and not actually set a screen. This is common, and the goal is to have the two defenders involved miscommunicate and leave someone open. Here, the Rockets don't miscommunicate, but Mitchell is able to use Ingles as a distraction to drive, but you see Tucker does a great job of helping off of Favors in the corner, and he protects the rim nicely. The Jazz usually had Mitchell with the ball and had one of the wings come up and slip, so here it's Crowder who slips it, but the Rockets stay solid and they do a great job on this possession in general, but as you'll see in the coming clips, the Jazz did have some success with the slips. They ran a lot of the play Horn's Flare, which I've talked about on this channel before, and if you don't know the play, don't worry about it. It starts with a ball screen you'll see with Alec Burks, but again, he doesn't set the ball screen, he'll slip it. And this time, it doesn't cause great miscommunication, but it causes Ariza to hesitate as he anticipates the ball screen, and that's all it takes for Mitchell to blow by him for the layup. That's good offense. Again, Horn's Flare, this time Exum has it, and notice how the slip causes enough hesitation so Exum can drive by Chris Paul, something that would normally not happen. They'll give the Rockets credit as they rotate well and force a mid-range jumper. This Horn's Flare set was one of the best offensive plays of the night for the Jazz. So Ingles catches it on the slip and the Rockets switch it nicely. But notice how the Jazz immediately float into a pick and roll and Favors sets that screen just above the foul line, so it's a tight pick and roll. Two defenders go to Ingles and Favors is open on the alley-oop. This was great because it smoothly flowed from one action to the next, and also the tight pick and roll is a good way to get the ball in the middle of the floor and work a high-low even if the defense switched. So they did get some good looks out of this Horn set, but there were other times on this set where the execution was not good. This time, for example, Burks goes too early on the slip and doesn't sell it at all, and then Mitchell jacks up a poor shot early in the shot clock. I did like this. They were slipping the screen the whole game, so this time Exum sets a real screen, and while the Rockets aren't fooled here, it's good to mix the slips up with some real screens at times. A few times the big man also slipped their ball screens, so here Favors doesn't make actual contact with his screen, but he slips early, and here it works as two defenders go to the ball, which is what they want. Ariza probably should have switched onto Favors, but he doesn't, and this forces Tucker to rotate onto Favors, which leaves Crowder open in the corner. This play right here is a great example of how the Jazz were really emphasizing the slips. So it's a set play, and Mitchell comes up and he'll slip that ball screen, then Crowder comes up after and slips his screen, and neither are effective because Ingles isn't looking to attack, but they flow into a split. And while this play results in a turnover, this is the type of offense that should result in good shots going forward. Movement passing with drive and kick. Now, besides slips, what are some other things the Jazz can do more of to score in Game 2? And what immediately came to mind was attacking Harden with Mitchell. Harden is the team's worst perimeter defender, and pretty much every time in Game 1 Mitchell got Harden on a switch, he was able to get something good. Here, a pull-up 3. Here Mitchell gets Harden on the switch, and he had no problem getting by Harden, here getting into the lane, though he has to hit a tough shot to finish. This time on the switch, Mitchell blows by Harden, and while he doesn't finish, Gobert gets fouled on the putback. Especially with the way their offense played in Game 1, they should definitely attack this matchup more in Game 2. And here again on the switch, Mitchell gets by Harden, look at that separation, and while Capella is waiting in the paint, Mitchell is still able to finish. There are also other ways they can make things easier on Mitchell. So on this play, they run Ingles off of a double screen, and you see that Capella is occupied with these screens. Mitchell has the ball on top, and he takes advantage of this by driving. Capella is distracted, doesn't step over, and now Mitchell has a drive without any rim protection, and it's an easy layup. What's also important in Game 2 is that the Jazz get it inside more to Favors and Gobert, but the Rockets are terrific at defending post-ups after switches. So on this play, Paul switches onto Favors after the pick and roll, but he won't be there for long, because Ba Mute will switch onto Favors off the ball while Paul takes an offensive player on the weak side. So now when the Jazz go into Favors in the post, it's no longer even a mismatch and Favors gets blocked. And the Rockets' wings are terrific at post defense. So here after a switch, the Jazz look to post up Favors against Harden, but this really isn't even a mismatch and Harden forces a tough shot. But the Jazz weren't opportunistic enough. So here on the pick and roll, the switch happens with Paul guarding Gobert, and again the Rockets will switch off the ball, this time with Tucker coming to Gobert to take the switch, and Paul goes to the perimeter to defend Favors. The Jazz reverse the ball, and now is a great opportunity to post up Favors, but the Jazz don't even look for it, and at the end of the shot clock, Royce O'Neal isolates. The Rockets switch a pick and roll, and when Favors gets it on top, he doesn't even look inside for a high-low to get it to Gobert, who looks open. At worst, throw it inside, maybe Harden picks up a foul. Instead, Favors throws it out, though they do get a decent shot on this possession. And not to pick on him, but Favors needs to be better. So here, pick and roll, the Rockets switch, and Ingles does a great job of getting it inside to Favors quick. And then the Rockets double team the post, which is exactly what the Jazz want. But Favors misses Ingles open on the double team, instead he passes it to Crowder, and the Jazz don't score. Also, it was very clear in this game the Jazz did not want Favors crashing the offensive glass. Here on the shot, you see he goes right back on defense and doesn't even look inside to get a rebound. Now, I get it, he's getting back because of transition defense, but if the Jazz continue to struggle on offense, getting him in better position to crash the glass, especially against a forward or a guard on a switch, could be beneficial. When Favors is in there with Gobert, I get why the Jazz coaches wouldn't want him crashing the glass, but this was ridiculous. Here he's playing center, while Ba Mute is guarding him, and the shot goes up and he immediately backpedals, giving the Jazz no offensive rebound chance. That's just not good basketball. Well, there you have it, guys. Quin Snyder has his work cut out for him on both sides of the ball, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of adjustments he makes. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.